Social media can be an incredibly effective way to increase your visibility, grow your audience, and promote your offers. But all too often, I see folks making the same mistakes. So if you're not seeing the results that you want from your social media marketing efforts, then there's a chance that you might be making these same mistakes. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 most common mistakes that coaches and entrepreneurs make and what you can do instead. Hey, I'm 𝗧𝗢𝗦𝗢𝗏, and I help coaches and entrepreneurs to leverage their unique brand and message so they can stand out online, sell more services, and make a bigger impact without the overwhelm. And as one who's been in business since 2013, and I was there at the very beginning of social, we have seen so many changes take place over the years. But ultimately, it comes down to how you can use social media effectively to market your business. So if you're trying to figure this out, you're trying to keep up with the latest algorithms, but your strategy is wrong, it can cost you time and money. And that's something that none of us have any extra of. So, as usual, I'm going to be flying through this to give you as much information in a short amount of time as possible. So, if you want the show notes, then drop the word social below. And I also have my simple social media content calendar that is available to you as well. So that is something that you can get as well. But if you drop social, then I will send those over. Okay. So when it comes to mistakes, the first thing that I see all too often is not marketing to your ideal avatar. So when you think about who your perfect client is, then the more fine-tuned you can get with your message, then the more it's going to speak to them. Now, here's the caveat. When you're creating a marketing message, it's important that you recognize, and I've mentioned this before, the stages of awareness where somebody is at. Because if you start talking about your specific offers for a specific person with a specific challenge, and someone doesn't even know that they have that challenge yet, then it's going to go over their head. However, you can speak to your ideal avatar and narrow in that market. So if you're trying to be everything to everyone, then what happens is your message gets muddled and then you're marketing to no one. So here are some very specific questions to ask. And as I said, I'm going to be going through this quickly. So if you want, grab a pen and a paper, and otherwise just post show notes and then I will get you those. All right. So question number 1, you're going to want to know, what are their demographics? So age, gender, location. Depending on your business, if you have a product or a service that you are marketing locally, then your demographic may be related to your city, to your town, maybe to your region. But say, for example, you have clients and they can work nationally or internationally, then that's going to adjust your demographic. Also, it could be age, it could be, is it something that you market that you have? I've seen coaches, they have something that is ideal for teenagers, but the actual person that they're marketing to is the kid's parents. So I have a couple of coaches that I work with. Their primary market tends to be women of, a specific age. So think about that with demographics. Then here are the big ones. It's what are their interests? Because all too often we focus on demographics and not necessarily psychographics. So think about all of the interests that somebody might have, their specific pain points and challenges. And the big one, what are their goals? If you know what somebody's goals are, then it makes it easier as you're writing your marketing message. But as I said, number 1, not marketing to your ideal avatar or spending the time to do it. And yes, everything that I'm telling you today, it's going to take work. Once you get it done, it's a matter of finessing it. But if you want to be on your message to your target audience, then spend time doing that. So, and part of it is when you know specifically who you are speaking to, then you can create content that resonates with them. So what I did, and this is something that actually I forgot about it because it's been so long ago since I did it, but I actually came up with a name for my avatar in the initial creation process. So if it's helpful, say for example, you have a man and you market to both men and women, then name your avatar and start listing out those specific characteristics that they have. As I said, you're going to do psychographics and demographics, and also know that you're not going to be sharing this with anybody outside your company. But once you have this information, then you're going to have a complete profile, and it's going to be able to help you out. Now, mistake number 2, I see this all too often, especially when I ask, where are you posting content? I see folks saying, well, maybe they only post on Instagram, or maybe they only post on Facebook, but that isn't necessarily where their target audience is spending their time on. So mistake number 2 is posting where you're comfortable and not where your ideal client is spending time on. So Facebook research, Pew Research, shows that Facebook, of course, it's one of the most visited sites. But that goes to the question, are your folks there? If you're on Facebook, you've got your personal page, you could have a business page. And by the way, any content that you post is only going to reach 1 to 2% of your target audience. A Facebook group is going to help you reach more people. But of course, it takes time to build a group and gain momentum. In fact, I have a client currently right now, on average, she's got 10 to 15 people joining her group per week, and she's not doing any paid ads with that. But she's very specific on the message. She's very specific with the name of the group. As people are searching, they can find it in the URLs. But know that when you're out on social media platforms, then say, for example, and I know that people, they brush off TikTok saying that might not be a good thing. But if your target audience is there, especially if you have a younger demographic who you're going after, then TikTok is a must. Here's a tip. You can always create a reel on Instagram, download it, and then upload it to TikTok and use it on multiple platforms without any logos or, anything on it. And it's great to be able to repurpose. So you need to know. That means you need to do research with your ideal avatar to find out where they're at. If you're not comfortable, then I'm going to say, tough luck. You need to get comfortable with that platform. The other caveat I'm going to say is don't be on every platform. All too often, I see folks that they think they're going to start posting everywhere. Specific platforms have very specific strategies. I've mentioned my Pinterest account, I get over 50,000 views a month on Pinterest. But the content is very specific. The keywords are specific to Pinterest because they have their own SEO, which is different than Google's SEO. So depending on where your target audience is and the amount of time that you want to put in, then that sometimes you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with getting on the right platform where your audience is. So another example too is I used to be on Twitter. It's where I started out back in 2008, 2009. I had over 4,000 followers. I was never using it. I used it for research, but I wasn't using it to promote because you've got to put out like 10 tweets a day, which to me is nuts. I would rather focus my efforts on LinkedIn, Facebook, which I have a business page and a private community. I also have Instagram, and then I'm doing a lot of things on Pinterest because I know I can get to my target market easier. So I got rid of Twitter. And then funny thing, this morning, I got an email from some folks who've been following me on social platforms going, you need to get over on TikTok. So part of that is me just taking content that I've already done and then repurposing and uploading it to TikTok. All right. Mistake number 3 is not setting smart goals. So actually number 3 and 4 are very closely related. So another mistake that I see all the time is people just post content that it looks good at the time or it sounds good versus thinking through, why are you posting content? Do you have a specific offer, or maybe it's an event that you're promoting? Or is it something that you want to increase your visibility, build your brand? You want to be promoting somebody else, as an affiliate partner. So part of it is if you are setting goals, then that's going to help refine your content strategy versus you're just going to post stuff out. It's that spray and pray. You hope something sticks and then it doesn't stick. Goes back to you're wasting time and money. So when you know who your audience is, you know where they're hanging out, You know what it is, your specific goal that you're working on. Build your audience. As I said, it could be an offer. Then it helps you to create the goals around it. So start by having broader goals first, and then you can reverse engineer it into specific goals that you're trying to create with your social media. So SMART, you've heard this before, they should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Depending on what's happening, say you've got an event coming up in 3 months, you would reverse engineer and say what kind of content needs to go out. If the only kind of content that you are creating is promoting your event, you're probably going to turn people off, which goes back to you've got to look at your content strategy and make sure that you're including stages of awareness as well as your content pillars and your framework or methodology. All right. So an example of that, if you say that you want to use Facebook or Instagram to grow your business, well, that's great, but let's back it up and give you an additional activity, because you're not going to know if you're succeeding. You can look at the number of followers, but that doesn't necessarily tell you what the engagement is, right? Followers, that's just a vanity metric. What you're looking for is actual engagement. So if you're using a SMART goal, then this could be, if Facebook is your thing or if Instagram is your thing, then you could say, I want to create a social strategy to drive 100 potential leads to your offer page in the next 90 days. So that way you've got a very specific timeline of what that is, how many leads you're trying to get. Now, the other thing I will tell you is, instead of saying, I want to get 5 sales or whatever it is around sales, think about the activities instead and set your goals around the activities, because the sales are a result, but if the daily or weekly or monthly activities are there, then you're not going to get your result. It all goes hand in hand. So part of that, like I said, think about what the broader goal is. So you want to increase, think about the timeline, and then how you can reverse engineer it, because then you're going to know what you do today, what you do, what needs to be done by the end of the week. Do you need anybody to help you do this with your social media marketing? All right. Number 4, these actually go hand in hand. The mistake is not measuring anything. Peter Drucker said, when I was overdoing consulting in the corporate side, Peter Drucker said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. The same holds true with your social media. If you never look at your analytics, you don't look at what time your posts get the best engagement, what kind of content is getting great engagement. I always know that my reels get far more engagement than anything else that I do. Any live video that I do gets far more engagement than static content. So that's why go back and look at what you're posting. If you're just starting out with your social strategy, you also have to give it time to work, but that's where you can measure it. If you have an Excel spreadsheet and then you're tracking, the stuff that's performing the best. And this can be, as an example, I have very specific blogs. We create content that drives to the blogs. Or if we've got a free offer that's going out, then we know the content that we're creating, if for any reason we're not getting the conversions, then something needs to be adjusted in that process. So that's why I said 3 and 4, it's got to be SMART. You got to be able to measure it. Those go together. All right. And then if you think about too, not having a solid content strategy. So if you're putting all of this together, then this should be creating a content strategy. And I have given you the tips on this as we went along. So the first thing is knowing who your target audience is, but you also have to understand stages of awareness where somebody's at, the type of content you post for somebody who's completely unaware that they even have a problem. But say you put out good general content, it's still related to your niche, to your expertise, but it's something that anybody can benefit from, or it might, capture somebody's attention. Anybody in open market, because the bottom of your funnel, that is your largest group of people. So if you post content that is relevant and it's, it with graphics that capture attention, then this is where people go, oh, there might be something else. Then when somebody becomes problem aware, then that's when your content gets a little bit more refined. As I said, it's stages of awareness. You also want content, a strategy around what your content pillars are, and then your framework or methodology. your pillars and your framework or methodology are very two different things. Your pillars are your different topics that fall under your, think about your umbrella. That's what falls in there. Whereas your framework is the process that you take somebody through, and your content strategy should encompass all of that. So when you think about promotional material, that should be on average like 10 to 20% of what you're putting out. One of the big things I see happen all the time is people are like, hey, come to my class or do this. And all they're talking about, it's sales and it's sales and it's sales. I see realtors do this all the time. Instead of just posting and saying, hey, I have this house for sale, tell us a story about the house. Tell us something that happened in the house. Let us see unique features. Don't just post this and then hope people are going to show up. Yes, images are great, but think about the story behind that. And as I said, in your content strategy, you want static content, but your number one engagement is going to be live video. Now, what I do pretty much every single week, this is not something that you have to do. You're actually going to get a lot more traction using short form video content. As an example, last night I was headed to a fundraising event. Funny thing, I pulled my hair back and I didn't have bangs. That is the very first time in my life, in my adult life, I remember leaving the house that I did not have bangs. And what I did is when I got to the event, I got on my phone, on my video, and I clicked record. And it was simply, I was talking about comfort zones. It was like, holy shit, I've never walked out of my house without bangs before, but I had people saying, I think your hair looks great, but it was a mental comfort zone. The topic was a mental comfort zone that I had, and it was literally like a 35-second video that I took on my phone. And then when I had time today, I uploaded as a reel, and then I also downloaded it before I clicked publish, and now it's over on Pinterest too, with just a real snippet talking about comfort zones and calling myself out going, isn't that ironic? Because I spoke on comfort zones at TEDx. So, but short form video content, this is one of those things that I know it can be a huge comfort zone. In fact, I need to do a training on short form video content, but that can be one of your best things. So as you're thinking about your content strategy, write down your ideas. And if something you capture is great, then take a video on your phone. You don't have to do it right then, but just leave it and then figure out how you can integrate it into your content strategy. Another great example too, think about your hobbies. Think about your hobbies and how you can create an analogy to your business. So as an example, I track cars as a hobby, road courses. And when I was sitting out there, I went, oh my gosh, I'm never allowed on track. As a novice, I'm an intermediate now, but as a novice, you're never allowed on track without an instructor because you have to do this, this, and this. So I created, and I think it was 20-second video, 3 different short clips, but the text was talking about why people think that they don't need a coach when we look at what happens when we're on the track. So think about your hobbies, and is there an analogy that you can tie back to your business that makes sense? Record video on your phone. Just a heads up, for reels, you want to always record like this, record vertical, not horizontal, it won't come out, but have those video clips. And then when you get brave on, then you can turn them into content. Okay, so as I said, appeal to those who are unaware. That should be, a good batch of content. Then think problem aware. Somebody's now solution aware. And then, oh my gosh, they know a solution that you have a problem. So they become you aware. So that's how you're going to create that. And then if all you're doing is spamming and talking about events or classes, if the only time you send an email to your list is to promote an offer, that's going to be spammy and people are going to get off your list because you need to be giving value first. So if you're not sure where to start, then I am happy to, as I said, if you want my simple social media content calendar, this is a PDF. It gives you an entire planning system. Then post that below. And also, if you want the notes to this live, then post social in the comments. Now, as I said the last time I did a live, before I went live on multiple platforms. I am now limiting it. I am on YouTube and I am on Facebook Business. And then I am promoting this out to my list and that. But instead of being everywhere for everybody, because it was harder to keep up with comments, then I'm limiting it here. All right. So with that, let's do a recap. So mistake number one, back to the beginning, is mistake number one, not defining your ideal avatar. Take time, go through those questions that I gave you so you can get psychographics and demographics so you know who your ideal avatar is, because that's going to help you with your content strategy. All right, mistake number two is only posting content where you're comfortable versus where your ideal avatar is actually spending time. So this means having conversations with them. And then if it's a platform that's uncomfortable for you, then figure out how you post content, what that particular social media platform's content strategy is. Do they have a specific algorithm like Pinterest? But you need to know. It's time to get out of your comfort zone on that. Then mistake number three is not having goals, and specifically not having SMART goals when it comes to creating your content for marketing. Because if you're just posting to post, then it's too general. So think broad, but then you need to narrow it down and then reverse engineer a goal. So is it for an event? Is it for a specific offer? Is it to increase your visibility? But make sure that it is measurable in that process. So speaking of, mistake number four is you want to be able to measure the goal, but you also need to measure the results of what it is that you're doing. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, and you don't know what's working and what's not and what needs to be tweaked. And then, of course, number five is not having a content strategy. Not having a content strategy on social media, you're going to waste far more time than if you go through these steps, you do the research, you figure out who you need to be creating your message for. And one of the easiest things to do, if you put this in an Excel spreadsheet in Google Drive, by the way, and you start looking at what are the topics, what's getting results, what's not, it also helps you to be able to easily repurpose your content. So in the end is you want to make sure that you have all these things in place, because a solid social media strategy is going to save you time in the long run. It's going to give you greater results than just the spray or pray approach. And I see far too many people doing that. So you'll also, the cool thing doing the research, you know that you're going to be providing the type of content that your audience actually wants to see. And in turn, that increases engagement, it grows your followers, and that can help generate new business for you. So one final thing, if you want the show notes or if you want my simple social media planning, this is a content calendar, then drop social in the comments or send me a DM. And I appreciate those that I've actually gotten DMs with screenshots and the things that they loved. So keep doing that. I know that not everybody shows up live. I know I got folks that watch this in the replay, and I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you until next week. So have a